I built a business using AI in 10 days, and now I'm going to show you how to do the same.
Join us for Impact Live 2024 in Hartford, Connecticut this October 14th through the 16th. Over 3 days, business owners, CEOs, and marketing and sales leaders will learn proven strategies to drive business growth. Attend expert-led sessions on marketing, sales, leadership, and AI, and get a chance to network with industry pros just like yourself. Discover how companies like yours are dominating their markets. Secure your spot at impactplus.com/impact-5. And for all of our Endless Customers listeners, we have an exclusive discount code that'll save you $100. So when you're on the checkout page, just enter the code ECPOD100 in all caps for $100 off. We'll see you there at Impact Live 2024 up in Hartford, October 14th through the 16th. Welcome back to Endless Customers. My name is Alex Winter, and today we are joined by Ashley Gross. She's an AI strategist, a business owner, and founder of the Prompt Community. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
I'm stoked to have you. This is really our first time meeting and interacting, but I feel like I've seen you on LinkedIn, and we dabble in a lot of the same communities like Maycon, and we're both fans of AI, which is what we're talking about today, and it's a hot topic. So before we dive in, I think it'd be great for our audience and for our listeners out there. Can you give them a little background just about who you are, your expertise, what you do, just so that they know what's up?
Sure. So I'm many things. I wear many hats, but I like to say first and foremost, I'm a mom, and then I'm a wife, and then I'm a business owner. And as far as generative AI goes, I started using generative AI in 2020 when I found out I was going to have a son soon, and I knew immediately that I needed to ruthlessly prioritize my schedule. So that was really what started me dabbling in AI. It had nothing to do with the tech itself. I just knew I was going to be strapped for time, and I wanted to condense a 40-hour work week into a 15-hour work week. So I started using, back then it was called Jarvis. Now it's Jasper AI. And I learned so many use cases on my own and really just like hacked my productivity. So by the time 2022 rolled around, I was known internally at my enterprise as the AI girl. So like people were like either really excited to see me because they knew that I was about to like make their life easier with a workflow or an automation, or they were like running for me. They were just like, please stop talking about AI. But it paid off talking about it because it garnered the attention of our CMO. And she asked me if I wanted to roll out multiple LLMs to our marketing org pre-ChatGPT. So I was able to get that experience. And long story short, there was over 25 amazing AI use cases that I was able to create. But I think I always liked to tie my impact to revenue. So what that translated like into revenue was we overachieved our pipeline of 90 million and hit 115 million 3 months after implementation.
115. Wow. So 90 to 115. That's huge.
Yes.
Congrats. Wow. That's amazing.
Right. It's bananas. Yeah. And so as soon as I saw that was kind of like my mic drop moment where I was like, this is so cool. This is about to change lives. But for me, I always have a soft spot for entrepreneurs and business owners. And I just think that I have really spicy takes on that, but I won't get into it. But I just think in general that they're not really set up for success and given tools that they need. And they are arguably some of the most time crunched folks around. So I wanted to create an accessible and affordable community so that they could come in, they could learn how to use AI, and then they could learn how to create a business with it if they wanted to. And that's what I did.
Very cool. Very cool. I love the background. Thanks for sharing your story. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. I've heard this too, and I'm going off script already because I just love your energy. And it's funny with the AI piece, people either are fascinated with it and they're like, I want to know everything, teach me everything, or they're like scared out of their mind and they're like, just put it in the closet and I don't want to think about it. Do you find that to be true more often than not?
I think in 2023, yes, that was definitely the case. It was like either, everyone was talking about it or they were like talking about how much they hated it. And now I think this year the tone is a little bit changed. I think now people are less excited about it because they tried it, but they didn't have the right tools to succeed and get outputs that they liked. And so now we're in like a little bit of a fatigue bubble. So we have a little bit of the same people that are against it, and then a lot more people that are just fatigued. They tried it once, they didn't have a structure or, safeguards around them. They didn't see an ROI and they bounced out.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's one of those things too where it is pumped up a lot in the media and there's a lot of preconceived notions and ideas, where you think it's going to solve all of your problems and be this magical, mystical thing. And it is pretty amazing, but it's not going to do all that. You have to also, it's a tool like anything else that you need to learn how to leverage and use to your advantage. So
Right. And I think it's frustrating a lot for people too to pay attention to the media. Because I'm a tenured marketer, I think I have a certain perspective, which is probably why it's easy for me to break these things down. But from like a user experience of a non-marketer, right? If you're looking at the news, it's like update, this person's doing this person got traded to this company. It's like more intense than a football roster, right? And like you're trying to keep up with it, and it just becomes this time-sucking activity trying to keep up with it. But from a marketing lens, I don't even pay attention to the news because I'm like, okay, well, if OpenAI just rolled out an update and then Claude's update came out and OpenAI doesn't have another update, then I can guarantee Sam Altman's going to be in the news for something, trying to keep the attention on his company. You know, like I have those multi-layers where it doesn't overwhelm me because I understand what's happening from that perspective. So that's why I try to cut through the noise and just tell people, like, this is what you need to set yourself up for success. If you want to listen to the noise, go for it, but you really don't need to.
That's great advice. I've never really thought about it that way, but you don't have to. There is a lot of noise, and you don't necessarily have to let that come into your world. You can still use some of these tools and experiment in certain ways that aren't going to maybe overwhelm you at times, right? So with that, can we talk a little bit about maybe some of your favorite AI tools or some tools that are like your go-to things that really helped you as a marketer and with all your tenured experience, like has really helped like be a game changer for you?
Sure. So I always tell people when I'm talking about these tools, like I get excited about them only because I've seen the ROI. So take everything I say with a grain of salt and always lead with the problem. So identify what problem you have and then go vet the tools that are built to literally solve that problem. So for me, some of my favorite problems to solve for marketers that have existed for a while are around the validity of our data, right? So a lot of companies, and the bigger a company gets, the more third-party tools they rely on for their data. And it's really, really terrible if you go to those third-party tools and it says, for instance, like this prospect is ready to talk and negotiate a contract. And then you go get sales on the phone with them and they're already under negotiation with another, vendor. It's really horrible. So I like to use tools for data cleaning. And so it depends on what I'm trying to use, but a few of the ones that come to top of mind, you can always use ChatGPT, but you can also find apps like Visio. So Visio works with Salesforce and HubSpot, and I think Marketo and a couple other ones. And you can actually like text the app, and it's like texting your CRM. So if I'm on a call with a prospect and I don't want to go get on my computer and update that immediately after the call, and then I get busy with the rest of my day, I can just send a text to my CRM and it updates it immediately in all of the different technology, CRM parts that I have. That's a good one.
That's a great one. No, I have to interject because I feel like sales folks are busy and they have a lot of calls and they have numbers they have to hit, and it can be stressful at times. And then when, it's clunky to have to go into the CRM or go into the spreadsheet and try to log all this data, and to be able to just text it on your phone. There's like almost no excuse not to at this point. That's pretty amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then I would say the other problem that I like to focus on, especially from a marketing perspective, is, we all talk about omni-channel strategies, but at the end of the day, if you don't own that data, you really don't know how to calculate an ROI on how much you're spending on content and how much you're spending on, LinkedIn and Instagram and all these other tools. So I like Zekin, and Zekin works really, really well because it solves that problem. So I always like to preach that unless you can convert the traffic from any channel back to your webpage and actually learn and see if those people that you're even, gauging the interest of are high intent buyers, then what are you doing? So Zekin is you can create any video that you want and embed a link into their video. And so whether I put this video on a blog, on a social media channel, on someone else's website, as soon as someone clicks on that, it leads them back to my website. And it actually lets me collect their data. So then I can actually get a full scope of reference on if I'm attracting the high intent folks that I want. Because I think a lot of times marketers focus or are told to focus on certain metrics, and like it just doesn't matter. Like who cares about top of funnel metrics or how many people are converting? Like, are they actually in our ICP score? Do we even want them? Are they ready to purchase our product? Because those are the people I want to focus on. And so I like to focus on problems that align marketing and sales instead of having like, here's the marketing strategies and here's the marketing metrics and here's the sales. And it's like, if we're spending marketing dollars, we should be targeting the sales accounts. Otherwise, what are we doing? We're just like making the sales cycles longer. We're creating friction points with sales. it's a mess.
Right.
So those are the two problems that I like to focus on with the tools.
Those are big problems. And those are problems that I think are misconceived in a lot of businesses, where the answer is like, oh, volume. If we just get more leads, we'll be fine. All of our revenue will go up. It's going to work out great. And it's like, yeah, but are they quality leads? How long's the sales cycle? All the things that you were just saying, where like you really need to think about those pieces. And if you can automate some of that with AI, it sounds like it's a game changer. Yeah. So for business owners out there, for people listening, what's like a typical budget? And I know this is such a loaded question because businesses range in scale and size and all those things, right? But like, what's like a monthly spend for some of these tools, or like what should people be expecting to start leveraging these tools?
Yeah. So my tech stack, so I have 5 tools for marketing that I use, and my monthly cost for those tools altogether is $75. That's it.
$75. No, we're going to pause so everyone can hit $75. Okay. So that's amazing for your tech stack. That's what it costs on a monthly. Wow. And what
for the marketing portion?
For the marketing portion, right? And for that marketing portion, what do you get out of that? Like, what's that look like?
Yeah. So as far as like how that translates into productivity, I was spending 12 hours every single Sunday creating content. So I create YouTube videos with tutorials, and then I create 5 LinkedIn posts across 3 business accounts, 5 Instagram posts, and then same thing with Twitter. So double it, 10, right? That's a lot of content to be creating. And it's really hard to find like an automation that's not half broken that actually gets you through that. So I like to start my video tutorials off, and I always record it in Riverside, and then I'll edit it in CapCut because that will splice it into the different portions that I need. And then I can post it on my different social media platforms. And then I've got Zekin, which is embedding the links into it. And then from there, I'm just using Jasper, because after I have an idea from Zekin, how many people are actually looking at the content, which ones they're clicking on the most, then I can do something that's actually productive and use Jasper to take the content that I know is converting and repurpose it, because a lot of people underestimate the power of reconverting copy. But if you think about it, if your content team is putting out, let's just say 5 blogs per week, and your old content's actually the stuff that's converting, then why wouldn't you go back to that old content, add some new keywords, figure out a way to repurpose it maybe like every 30, 60 days, and then keep getting leads off of something that's already working instead of creating net new? It's just more work for you.
It's more work and it's less effective. So you're doing all this work and it's not really turning the dial. Whereas I love what you're saying. That's great. This lines up so much with, so here at Impact, we have a very similar mentality and share a lot of commonalities there. So it's really cool to hear this. So we're talking about cost a little bit. So there's options too. And this happens to me a lot where I'm like, do I do the monthly or do I do the annual? The annual is a little bit cheaper overall if you commit to it, but then it's like, I might not like this tool in 2 months, or there may be an update, or Altman or one of the CEOs or executives might change something. So like, what do you recommend when it comes to like making those decisions from like a time standpoint?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought this up. So I am ruthless with my time, and I think everyone else should be as well. So my process is I download a free Google Chrome extension. It's just called Toggl. It's Toggl. And it's literally just like a little clock that you click on and it starts a timer, and then you stop it whenever you're done. So I have a really thorough process when I'm trying out new AI tools. I always, again, like I find a problem, and if I don't have technology in my tech stack that can solve that problem, then I go do my research to figure out which AI tools could solve that problem. Because I don't necessarily need an AI tool to solve the problem unless it's related to something that, like the AI feature of it makes it faster. I don't want to just get an AI tool to get an AI tool. I want to know what is going to solve my problem. And then from there, I just do the free trials. I never buy any tool until I try the free trial. And again, since I have the problem and I have the hypothetical tool to solve that problem, I start and stop that clock. And if it goes over the amount of time that it would manually take me to create that task, then I cut it immediately. There's no negotiating. But if it saves me time, then I keep it. And so from there, I like to try 3 to 4 use cases after I'm excited about the tool and I know that it's not a time suck. If after those 3 to 4 use cases, it's good to go, that is when I will purchase it. Now, I only purchase the tools monthly only because these tools keep coming out every single day, week, right? Like I'm big on Product Hunt, and it literally has like tool of the day every single day with hundreds of new tools.
It does.
So
it's exciting and overwhelming all at the same time. It's like, sensory overload there.
Yeah. So I I used to have a couple AI tools, like Descript was one of them, where they even say, like a couple of our features are wonky, but stick with us. And I think for that specific tool, it was worth sticking with. But for the rest of them that are still figuring out their product, like that is on them to do. And I appreciate what they're doing, but I don't have time to wait. So for Descript specifically, I keep that because it's got the coolest feature where if I'm looking at if I'm looking at myself in the camera, but I need to be looking at you in the camera, you can click a feature and it will actually move your eyes up to that. So that is why I kept it personally, just because I do a lot of tutorials. And I don't want to be like staring down here and not staring at you.
Right, staring at the script. Yeah, which
right.
I have my script here in front of me, and I do that too. I try to practice not looking at it too much. But
yes,
that's definitely a great tool. So in terms of time, you said that this has exponentially saved you a ton of time. Can we talk about like defining what that was? Like, what were you doing before, and how much time it took? Because you create a lot of content, and what's it look like now, and how much less stress do you feel because of it? You know what I mean?
So much less stress. So it was taking me between 12 and 13 hours every Sunday to create all my content. And now I have it down to 3 hours. And I think I'm glad you brought this up too, because I think a lot of the preconceived notions is if you're using an automation tool or an AI tool, you're not like working or you're not doing it. And I have the same workflow as if I was manually doing it when I'm using an AI tool, because I still need to be in the loop and there's no way for me to know where I'm at in the loop unless it's the same workflow that I'm used to. So then if there's an issue, I can track it back to the exact task I gave it that it hallucinated with and fix that right from the get-go instead of getting through the whole entire exercise and having to go back and repeat it.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's some of the fears, like people are worried it's going to replace your job. And I think it's a misconception where it's going to make you do your job faster. It's going to help you do your job better. So if you change that perspective in your head like you've done, you can get way more done, and it'll make your job way more efficient. So that's really cool to hear.
Yes.
We also have a question where we see this a lot, and people ask us this a lot, where AI tools tend to have a lot of overlapping features, almost like a Venn diagram, right? Some capabilities are shared, some are unique to each tool. They're changing all the time. But when you're building like a tech stack around AI, how do you decide which ones to pay for and which ones are like essential? And like, just can you walk us through that process? And I think it might be good to go back to like what we were talking about earlier, where you went from 90 million to 115 million using these tools, and like how you built out that tech stack.
Yeah. So specifically how I achieved that was, again, this was a pre-chat GPT. So I was like, okay, I don't think that people have the awareness to know how much time they're spending on tasks. And so again, I'm thinking, well, if I have them measure how much time they're spending per task, that's a time suck, right? Like, what are we going to do with that? And then as far as value goes, other than time, it's like cost. And that didn't really seem great to me either, because then I'm time crunching or cost evaluating everyone's tasks, how much they are getting paid, what tasks they're doing. So I looked at it as the lens of, what do you not like doing about your job? Because then people were already bought in, because I wasn't trying to replace anything that they already liked doing. I was just trying to get them to get through the tasks that they hated doing a lot faster. Everyone was happy about that. So it intrinsically motivated them to actually become, aware of what tasks they were doing that they didn't like. And so then once they located those tasks that they didn't like, I was like, great, now take a video and send it to me on Loom every time that one of those tasks comes up, and then send it to me. So now I have their workflow. So I have the problem and the workflow. Then from there, it was just going out and vetting these AI companies and asking them about their data security, their policy, their ethics, where our data stored, what that means. All those wonderful, sexy security questions that nobody really likes to talk about.
No, they don't. But they're also critical, especially if you're in certain industries where data has to be secure, and you don't want any leaks or any issues with that. So you got to do your due diligence with vetting for sure.
Yeah. And then after I got through all the security, I had to, I made every team get on a call with me, and I talked to their product teams. So every single AI vendor, if they passed the security portion, then their product teams got on a call with me, and I made them walk me through their product roadmap, because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to roll out a tool to over 100 marketers, that they didn't just have features right now that worked, that the features would evolve and the product would evolve to meet our needs in the future. So that was really the two barriers. And then how I really do this on my own is I look at, what do I need to do to run my business, right? So if you look at what I do, it's a lot of content. It's a ton of teaching. And it's a ton of speaking engagement. So I was like, okay, I know I need a calendar automation, because I don't want to be going back and forth with email. I know I need a personalized GPT for my PR agent so that whenever I get bookings, speaking engagements, whatever, I can send them my GPT. It's already got my headshot, my bio, a little bit about me, and my talk tracks that I can speak to based on historical data.
Right.
And then as far as other tools go, it's like, okay, well, you need your CRM, you need something to check SEO, you need the basics, but everything else is out of it. So I have the bare bones minimum tech stack, and I actually think that it's served me really, really well, just because I'm super aware of where everything is going. Maybe you felt like this in the past, but I feel like as marketers, we get tasked with understanding and onboarding ourselves to a ton of tools. And because we're trying to do that and our jobs, we're not actually like remembering what these tools are supposed to do. It's more like we're in zombie mode trying to, fulfill a little check mark.
Yes. It's like drinking from a fire hose. It's crazy. And it can be overwhelming at times. And that's the thing too, is like, I love how you're not using all the tools. You're using the ones that are right for you, and that you're very selective about like, less is more. Let's use these 3 or 4 tools that really work for me to solve the problems that I have. And I love that perspective, because I think we see some shiny object like, this tool's so cool, I want to use it. And you could experiment with it for sure, but if it's not going to help you in your day-to-day, it might not be the right tool for you per se.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, and you have to get rid of tools too. Like as you start to get scrappier and hone in on your strategy, you should be evolving your tools. So when I started the business, I had Apollo because I needed to have a tool that had an extension where I could go through LinkedIn, because that's my channel of choice that I'm most present on, and figure out like who my ICP score is, who was engaging, and I built my CRM there. But then as I started to get better at knowing my ICP score and I had all that data, I didn't necessarily need that tech. And so since I was paying monthly, I canceled that. I have Beehive that I'm already using for my newsletter. They just added their email functionality. I'm very familiar with it since I have to write a weekly newsletter in it. So I canceled Apollo and I stuck with Beehive. So like you have to consolidate. You don't just add more to add more. The idea is to like take away.
Right. That makes sense. Lean and mean. I like that. So what tools, are there any tools coming out, or is there anything in the AI space that you're excited about that's like future state that you're maybe like eager to see what's going to happen as we move forward into 24 and beyond?
That's a great question. So there's a lot of tools that I'm excited about that haven't made mainstream media yet. And I'm like waiting really patiently. I think Butterfly AI is one of them because I think it's really nice. It gamifies like lessons. So let's just say you have a product marketer, a CMO and a field marketer. And manually, if you wanted them to upskill in learning development, you probably had to have an ERG or give them a budget. They go, you don't really have any way of measuring the ROI for that budget and those opportunities. And with Butterfly AI, you have the ability, because it goes off of all of this data and all of these algorithms, to say, hey, I have a field marketer. She needs help upskilling on XYZ. And it creates games for that specific employee so that they can just take a 5-minute game and interact with it once a day and upskill. And it's $0. It's completely free. And also there's like this nice little portion in there where there's a survey. So you can actually say like, this week was really hard. Here are the blockers I ran into. Here were the achievements I had. And it collects that data and it keeps it anonymous, like truly anonymous, because a lot of companies use Google Forms. And it's like, that's not anonymous. Like no one's actually going to tell you how they feel through a Google Form.
No, they're not. You're so right. Yep. I don't.
But with Butterfly, right. But with Butterfly, they anonymize it and they give the employees a report and they give the managers the same exact report. And it's like, here is the skills that you can work on as a manager, and here's the skills you can work on as an employee. So it completely takes like, well, here's the problem that so-and-so said, because like that's another way of, just being able to decide who said what. And it just talks about, it puts the solution-oriented approach at first, where it's like, here's what we're going to work on. You don't need to know what the comments were, but here's the skills you need to work on.
Very cool. Very cool. I love it. Thanks for sharing some information.
Yeah, of course.
It's really fun talking with you too, because here at Impact, we very much are in the business of building trust. We believe that good business is all about trust, and that again, AI is a tool that you can use to help do that and leverage to be more efficient and faster. But can you talk a little bit too about how important it is to build trust? You say ROI a lot, and we believe that like return on investment is huge, and I think we're aligned on this. Where like, how do you get people to see the value in these tools that it's only going to help enhance that feeling of building trust and gaining quality leads and gaining better conversations and better potentials for your business to scale and to grow?
Great question. So how I like to do this is, from an enterprise standpoint, the first thing I actually ever did was I got one person from every single department together. So not even just marketing. I had the head of sales, the head of product, the head of marketing, like everybody from the department. And I got them all together and I said, okay, what is the business's main problem this quarter? And we all went around and everyone guessed what it was. And we all aligned on like that specific quarter. It was revenue, right? Like we had a revenue problem. And so then all the development leaders were like, okay, how can we as a department solve that problem? And then we went around and it was like, marketing was like, we could create better videos because our short videos convert better. And then product has something to say. And then, we go all around. And so then we're like, okay, great. So those are the use cases we have. We now have a top-down strategic approach to rolling out AI based on a universal problem. And we all have how we're going to develop these first use cases. And then it can trickle down a lot easier, because if you don't have it coming from the top and you don't have that buy-in, then it's so many more silos at the bottom, because employees are inundated with so many other things that they have to do. And they're going to their managers saying, well, I have this and this and this. So like, what should I prioritize? And if the managers aren't saying AI, then that's going to take a back seat. So I like to tell people that. But from an individual perspective, I'm very strategic. And what I mean by that is I always tell people to start off with a fun use case. And I like to say, why don't you prompt ChatGPT and ask it what recipes you can make with the ingredients that are already in your fridge? Because it takes you 30 seconds to figure that out, right? And then you're like, whoa, I don't need to go grocery shopping. I thought I had to go grocery shopping and now I don't. And you're excited. That's the only goal for the first step. And then my second use case is, what is another language that you want to learn? Okay. Type a sentence in and talk to ChatGPT and ask it to repeat that back to you in French or Spanish or whatever. And it does it. So we went from a 30-second use case to a 60-second use case. So then the next one is, hey, I want this promotion. What skills should I go learn in order to get this promotion? 90 seconds, and it's giving you answers. So I like to work my way up, because we live in such an instant gratification world, and it's not necessarily our fault, but it's whatever we see all the time. And we're used to seeing things really, really quickly. So that is intrinsically how people are motivated and how they learn now. So you have to change and modify your learning and teaching to fit that narrative, so that they actually are getting this in bite-sized portions, because that's what they would get if they opened TikTok or Instagram.
Right.
And then by like use case 5, we can actually work on professional. But that's how you get them intrinsically motivated and bought in.
That's excellent advice. That's fascinating to me. It's baby steps. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? You gotta walk or crawl before you can walk, as the saying goes. That's really cool. So what else can we talk about with AI that maybe we haven't covered? Something that maybe you really wanted to talk about that you haven't been able to do so yet.
Probably prompt engineering.
Okay.
Because I think that it just sounds awful, right? Like it sounds super technical.
I was going to ask
really
you
boring.
what is prompt engineering? So
it's actually just talking about communication. It's working on your communication and how you communicate with that LLM. And a lot of people, you lose them as soon as you say the name, because it sounds like technical jargon. So what I like to do is, once we make it through those first 4 use cases, because they don't need to know how to speak to the LLM to get those use cases. That's the other portion, right? So I'm trying to get them to see that they already have the skills that they need to make this work. So they get through the first 4 use cases, and then we're actually ready to get into the nitty gritty and switch lenses into a full use case. So then I'll say something like, okay, I have a wonky little activity for you to do. Next time that you're running through your to-do list with your significant other, go ahead and open up your voice memo app and record yourself telling them about your to-do list. And everyone always looks at me like I'm an alien, but hear me out. So when they do that, I make them re-listen to it, because people hate re-listening. Like they hate listening to a recorded version of themselves, right?
Yeah.
So when they're listening, they're like, 90% of the time people are like, wow, I was barking my to-do list out at my, significant other. I wasn't even having a conversation. I was saying, I need to do this and this and this and this and this. And that's the point. So I'm like, okay, great. You were barking orders. We have diagnosed that. Now do it again, record yourself again, and evaluate it. And then next time they're like, hey, honey, I have to go get gas. And then their significant other's like, okay, cool. And they're like, and then I got to go to the bank. Okay, great. And then we're ready to start prompt engineering, because what I'm having them do is chain prompt. I'm having them say one thing, make sure that the other person understands it, say the next thing, and keep going back and forth. And that is how you start prompt engineering. That is what prompt engineering is breaking things down into concise communication points. People are not great communicators, though. So you have to humble them without realizing that you're humbling them, and they can't come to that, conclusion.
I love this. No, I love this. I'm thinking about, my wife will give me the laundry list, and I only get the first 2 or 3, and there's like 10 more that I forget. And
right.
It's because we don't have the prompt engineering. So I'm actually going to take this back and practice this. That's really fun.
You should.
Yeah. So cool. So for people out there listening and watching, what's going on in your world? Like if they want to, I know you public speak. I know you have a lot going on in your world. Do you want to tell people a little bit of what's happening? Because there's a lot of exciting stuff, and maybe how they can see you and get to learn more about everything that we're talking about here today.
Sure. So you can always follow me on LinkedIn. I'm very consistent with putting out content, but I have my business, which is called the Prompt Community, and it's a subscription-based community. And so for $20 a month, you jump into the community, and it's hosted on Circle, and there's 3 events every single week. They're community choice. So I say, here are the offerings for the week. You guys pick. So they pick the 3 courses. Additionally, I bring in a new AI founder each week, and we talk to them about data security, ethics, bias, mitigation, and they give us all a free access to their tool. So instead of keeping up with all the news that's happening and not understanding what to do with that, we actually bring in the people that are creating this technology, give you the information to feel safe and secure. And then if you want to test the tools after hearing them and meeting them, then you can. So that's one really cool thing that I have going on.
That sounds really cool. I love that. Very cool.
Thank you. And then I also have on Maven, my How to Build a Business Using AI in 10 Days course is live, which is actually created from my blueprint with my workflows, my automations, and my tech stack. So I took all 3 reasons why startups fail to start, and I went through hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of research. And the 3 main problems for startups failing to start was poor product market fit, lack of funds or skills, and then a bad business plan. And so I rewrote this course based on, here are the tools that you need to succeed. Here's all the information that you need to succeed. Forget about everything else. We can figure this out later. Let's launch. And so that course is live, and I'm really excited about that as well.
Congrats. That's amazing.
Thanks.
Very, very cool. So as we wrap up here, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way if they want to pick your brain, they want to ask you more questions? Obviously, LinkedIn, I checked out your profile before. There's a lot of great resources and info there. But how else can people get in touch with you if they want to pick your brain?
Yeah, they can visit gettheprompt.com. My email is located on there. I'll also be speaking at MACON. I'm doing a lot of speaking, so you can always catch me speaking.
I love that. Love it. Very exciting stuff. You have a lot of things happening. She has a lot of great content too, so make sure you go check out her channels. We'll drop some links in the description as well. Any closing thoughts as we wrap up here for business leaders and for people out there that want to get more into AI?
Yeah. So for business leaders, my advice would be, your employees, whether they say it or not, they do want to learn AI and they are curious about it. So the best thing you can do as a business leader is to enable your employees to go learn. So advocate for them, empower them, support them, whether that means you're signing off on a budget or you are going out there and finding certifications on Coursera or Udemy that are affordable and then giving that information to them. You can be doing things and you should be doing things. And then for everyone else, my advice is just to be really concise with what you want to do. It's not, like you said, it's eating the elephant one part at a time. So start small, iterate mindfully, and then just continually get curious. Because honestly, curiosity is the backbone of innovation. That's it. That's really all it is. So just stay curious, start somewhere, and be experimental and mindful.
Ashley, it was great having you on the show. Thank you for taking the time and for sharing just all your knowledge and expertise. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. We're going to have you back on the show. We're going to do another check-in at some point later this year. All right, sounds good. And for everybody out there watching and listening, this is Endless Customers. I'm Alex. See you in the next episode.